Donald Trump railing against a rigged system with specific blame on the media just moments ago. Listen to this one.
A big part of the rigged system is the press itself, because they can take a little story that isn't a story and make it into a big deal. Happens so much.
So is there a double standard when it comes to Trump versus the media? Here now is Howard Kurtz, Fox News media analyst, MediaBuzz host. Howie, okay, so I'm looking at this just as a journalist, as an anchor, as a reporter. When you're looking at a list of what's going on, there are 4 huge stories in this most recent news cycle. There is, of course, the Second Amendment story, which is getting tons of coverage. There's the email release, which seems to show pay for play, that came out this morning from the Clinton Foundation. Some very damning quotes in there. There's Omar Mateen sitting behind Hillary Clinton at the rally. And then there's also this story with Julian Assange out there, implying that this murder of Seth Rich, who worked for the DNC in Washington, D.C., when he was shot in the back, the WikiLeaks is adding to the money that's out there as a reward for information, saying that they want to protect their whistleblowers. He came as close to saying that he was the one that leaked the emails from the DNC as he possibly could without actually saying it. These are 4 huge, enormous stories. Only one of them is getting really a lot of coverage, and that's the one that hurts Donald Trump. What do you think about that?
Well, Trump has a point when he talks about the press obsessing on small stories and making them into big stories. I sometimes feel like the coverage of the campaign right now is Trump versus Trump as opposed to Trump versus Clinton. And there's no question, Melissa, that any story involving Hillary Clinton is being overshadowed, particularly by the furor right now about Trump's comments about Hillary Clinton and the Second Amendment. In this particular case, I think that Trump himself stepped in it, even if I don't believe he was trying to incite violence, but when he makes those kind of comments that can be interpreted as inflammatory, that's a story. But there is an imbalance in the way that these Trump, even when they're generated by Trump, these Trump controversies seem to dominate the news, almost every kind of outlet, much more so than anything involving the Democratic nominee.
So could we explain it in the same way? There was a lot of criticism that when Trump got out there and did speeches and did things along the way, that he got more coverage than everybody else. And at that point in time, when it was relatively positive, the response from the media was, well, he drives ratings, because when he talks, people watch, so we try to put on what drives ratings. And also, when you ask people to do an interview, he says yes, the others say no. When you look at these 4 stories and the imbalance in the coverage of them, you know, could you say that reporting negative things about Trump drives ratings over, say, reporting these emails that are in print and what they seem to imply, and, you know, the rest of the media today, as that fodder is out there, doesn't seem to be seizing on it at all?
You know what? I don't care if it drives ratings. We have a responsibility in a general election in which there are 2 candidates to provide some roughly equal level of scrutiny to both nominees, and that doesn't seem to be happening. Now, in the primaries, Trump often enjoyed, driving these stories by saying things that were right up to the line or over the line, and a one-day story would turn into a 5-day story. He'd get a lot of bad press, but it would help him control the campaign dialogue. Right now, not so much, because he needs to expand his base beyond the Republican loyalists who supported him in the primaries. So it is true that we have a certain weakness for Trump stories because we all like clicks and ratings, but if that's the standard, then we've thrown out any notion of fairness or balance, and I don't think that's where we should be in this campaign.
It's also interesting to note, and I know you've been working in the last hour, I don't know if you got a chance to see it, but in the speech that he's been giving in the past hour, he is not on prompter, but he is on message, and he's on point. And in the time I was listening, he seemed very disciplined. I didn't hear him say anything sloppy. It was a totally different speech than what I've seen before, and not on prompter. So it'll be interesting to see if he is, in fact, now kind of beaten down and trying to pivot. Howard, thanks for coming in.
We keep saying that, and then he pivots away.
I know, I hear you. But I'm just saying it was different from anything I've seen so far, because it was subdued and not on prompter. I haven't seen that.
Got it.
Anyway, see you later, Howard. Thank you so much.